All right, we can go ahead and start recording, please.
Recording in progress.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Wednesday, September 1st, 2021 morning session of the Portland City Council. Good morning, Keelan, please call the roll.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. Hardesty, Maps.
Here.
Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here, under Portland City Code and state law, the City Council is holding this meeting electronically. All members of the council are attending remotely by video and teleconference. The city has made several avenues available for the public to listen to the audio broadcast of this meeting. The meeting is available to the public on the city's YouTube channel, eGovPDX, www.portlandoregon.gov/video, and channel 30. The public can also provide written testimony to council by emailing the council clerk at cctestimony@portlandoregon.gov. The council is taking these steps as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to limit in-person contact and to promote physical distancing. The pandemic is an emergency that threatens the public health, safety, and welfare, which requires us to meet remotely by electronic communications. Thank you all for your continued patience, flexibility, and understanding as we manage through this challenging set of circumstances to conduct the city's business. I also just want to make a brief announcement with regard to face masks. Last week, Governor Brown announced a new outdoor face mask requirement. Effective last Friday, August 27th, masks are required in most public outdoor settings, including large outdoor events where physical distancing is not possible. The city's face covering directive has been updated to reflect these new requirements. Our employees should be aware of that. And just for the record, I am not wearing a mask right now because I am indoors without people from different households present. And with that, Keelan, I believe our first item is communications. If you could read the first item, which I believe is 645, first individual.
Mayor, would you like to hear from the council attorney before we get started?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Ann.
Good morning, Mayor. To participate in council meetings, you can sign up in advance with the council clerk's office for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions or the first readings of ordinances. The published council agenda is at portland.gov/auditor. That contains information about how and when you may sign up for testimony while the City Council is holding electronic meetings. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you're a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When your time is up, the presiding officer will ask you to conclude. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being placed on hold or ejected from the remainder of the electronic meeting. Please be aware that all council meetings are recorded.
First up is communication, 645, please.
Request of Lynn Handlin to address council regarding Zenith land use compatibility statement not burning up Portland.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Spidlary Handlin, and I'm with Extinction Rebellion PDX. And last week, I was going to testify about the many reasons why you should deny Zenith their land use compatibility statement. But in light of Friday's events, I threw all my notes out the window and instead want to say thank you all for having the courage to do the right thing for all of us by denying Zenith their Lux. Thanks, everybody, truly. What can we do to help support the city in your fight against Zenith? We know they're appealing the decision and would like to help in whatever ways we can. I do have a question about what happens now. Is Zenith going to continue to operate without a permit? They have violated rules in the past, as we know. The recent fines that DEQ has assessed are proving. Also, Zenith is currently running an aggressive greenwashing campaign, minimizing the size and scope of their fossil fuel operations and touting the benefits of renewable fuels. Renewable biofuels is an oxymoron. Biofuels are an unsustainable climate disaster. They're made from plants and crops such as corn, soybeans, and wheat, and animal fats. Producing these raw materials is expensive, carbon intensive, depletes the land, and poisons the water with pesticides. Production of biofuels uses large quantities of fossil fuels and water. This at a time when we're losing arable land due to climate change. It's important that going forward, we all understand what's behind the word biofuels and that they're not renewable like sun and wind. The biofuel processing plants tend to be in BIPOC and low-income areas, polluting the air, land, and water in those areas. This is a climate justice issue. I know we all want a just transition away from fossil fuels and to a better world. The best option for reducing reliance on fossil fuels is reducing the need for fossil fuels with programs like some of the things the city is doing, healthy buildings, improving public transportation. And I know that this isn't necessarily your purview, but making public transportation free. If you get rid of the fare infrastructure, it suddenly becomes not out of the question. So these are just some of the very many things that can be done. I'm sure the city is working on all these measures. And once again, I'm really here mostly today to say a great big thank you from myself and Extinction Rebellion PDX, and I'm sure many other people out there in the climate justice community. So thanks all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Thanks for coming in today. Keelan, the next individual, please, item 646.
Request of Pete Colt to address council regarding the Elk Grove Homeless Outreach Program.
Hi, Pete.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you all? Pretty
Great.
good? I'm happy to see you all again. I don't represent anybody but myself. And my goal in coming here each time is simply my goal is to help you, actually, all of you. That is my personal goal. And one of the ways that I would like to do that, please, is, well, let's follow up on that thing about Elk Grove, California. Did any of you have your staff contact anybody in Elk Grove, California to see if we can implement that same program here? So next time I come, which will be next month, I'm sure one of you or two of you or three of you or all of you will have had your staff contact Elk Grove, because that program seems to be pretty effective in helping the homeless people keep their areas clean and in reducing the amount of money that we will spend here in the city. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is I'm very fortunate that my boyfriend likes to travel a lot. So he drags me everywhere. And dragging me everywhere, I love infrastructure. And so I've got tons of videos and tons of photos of infrastructure. And I talk to people when we travel. So in Sydney, we met this woman about maybe 4'11". And I said, "Are you parking enforcement?" And she said, "Oh, no, I'm a Sydney Ranger." And so she told me what they do. And what they do is they do all of the low-level crime in Sydney. Any kind of drinking or drugs on the street, any kind of bushes or shrubs that are impacting the right of way, all the things that each bureau's silo does, this woman does all at once, as she does parking enforcement plus more. The other thing I learned in Sydney was this. If we think about our city with our skinny streets, and we think about somebody having a heart attack or a stroke or a drug overdose, and we're sending out these huge fire engines, Well, what they do in Sydney is they triage with people on those three-wheeled motorcycles. They can scoot anywhere. So they'll send out 1, 2, or 3 motorcycles, depending on the number of incidents. That's saving the city a whole bunch of money in fuel. It's keeping the air a lot cleaner, especially if we had electric vehicles doing that. So that's just another idea I wanted to put there for you. Another thing, and we've all probably seen this when you go to Vancouver, along their waterfront, they physically separate the moms, the stroller moms from the cyclists and the skaters and the scooters with little concrete walls. One side will be a little bit higher. The side away from the waterfront where they expect the wheeled traffic to be will be higher and separated by a low concrete wall from the part where the pedestrians are, the people in wheelchairs, stroller moms and toddlers and things like that. And I think when the time comes for us to think about doing something along the waterfront, that might be a good idea too. So I'll be seeing you guys next month. I am so happy that each and every one of you is on the city council. I feel that we got a really good break when all of you arrived. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys next month.
Hey, Pete, can I ask a question? I'm just doing a little research here while you're talking. I looked up the homeless outreach services in Elk Grove, and honestly, I can't find too much on the city's website, but what I can find just in terms of the organizations and the outreach support, it sounds similar to some of the work we do, the navigation teams that we send out into the community, navigation services towards improved shelter or housing. It appears that they have focused on some of the hygiene type issues that we've been focusing on, making sure people have hygienic resources available. What else are we missing? What is it about that program in Elk Grove that's particularly impressive to you that we should be aware of as a council?
That program has the police doing it. The police are handing the garbage bags to homeless people in their camps, and the police are bonding with these people. And what's happening is the people are being tasked with cleaning up their own areas, and as a reward, they get a $20 gift certificate to Freddy's or Safeway, and they can't buy beer or cigarettes or anything like that. And so what Elk Grove has found is that is saving them a lot of money in having city staff go out and clean things up. And it's also, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you have a URL or a website, something because I couldn't find that quickly. Is there something you could direct us to?
I would simply say, because you're the mayor, call the mayor. Call the mayor. And you know what? Make friends with each other, because that's always a good thing to do, is to outreach to people.
And God knows I could use a friend or two right now.
You have a friend here, so don't you sweat that, okay?
All right. Done. And I'm going to say, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to call and I'm going to say, Pete sent me. So
thank you, Mayor.
Awesome. Hey, thank you. It's always appreciate your perspective and your insights. It's good.
Thank
good
you, guys. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you. And see, that completes, am I right, Keelan? That completes communications for today. We were a little thin on the comms side, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, why don't we go to the consent agenda? Are there any items that have been pulled off of the consent agenda?
No, we've had no requests.
Please call the roll.
Maps,
Aye.
Rubio,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Football Club in the Portland Timbers to promote volunteerism. The Thorns Football Club in the Portland Timbers to promote volunteerism and civic engagement. Since 2012, Stand Together Week has mobilized more than 6,500 volunteers to provide the Portland metro area with 21,336 hours of service and more than 276 events benefiting youth, social equity initiatives, and the environment. This year, the event will host 400 plus volunteers at 20 projects benefiting 18 different nonprofits. I'm honored to support this proclamation and would like to invite Timber Joey to say a few words on behalf of the event sponsors. Before I let Timber Joey take it away, I just want to say, well, the 2 matches on Sunday were amazing. That darn alum of University of Portland and Olympian soured the Thorns side. However, what a sweet victory up in Seattle Sounders turf on Sunday night, 2-0. So anyway, congratulations, and please take it away, Timber Joey.
Thank you so much. I believe that is
Take it away, Timber Joey.
Thank you so much. I believe that is we have been The Seattle Sounders have not won in their home stadium against us since 2017, if I'm correct.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's
Yeah.
been a very big run. And
Yeah.
hopefully there's some way we can figure out how to add a few more seats to a Thorns game and take our record back for the most attended Thorns game. But
Yeah, that was a cheap shot. Yeah.
and excited to be here. And I've got a little script to read here. Stand Together Week is the Portland Timbers and Thorns FC annual week of service to promote volunteerism and civic engagement. We are proud to coordinate our 10th annual week of service this year. And during the current pandemic, volunteers are more important than ever for local organizations. It is vital to the health of our communities that we stand together and help support these local families and the work of these amazing organizations. Since 2012, Stand Together Week has mobilized, and I think my numbers are a little off from yours, but you're probably right because I think they're bigger, 6,375 volunteers to provide the Portland metro area with 20,842 hours of service at more than 258 events, benefiting the youth of Portland and the environment. Nonprofit Nonprofits served include Habitat for Humanity, the Children's Book Bank, Grow Portland, Harper's Playground, the Virginia Garcia Memorial Health Foundation, among many, many others. And this year, we're excited to continue to give back alongside our fans, staff, and athletes. We will host 20 different volunteer projects at 18 different nonprofits around Portland. Anyone interested can find the projects and register at ptstandtogether.com/stand-together-week. And we look forward to working and volunteering with all of you.
Thank you, Timber Joey. I will turn this over to any of my colleagues who have any comments. Oh, and then the mayor has a proclamation, right?
Very good. Commissioner Merritt.
Oh, thank you, Timber Joey, especially. When I saw you on the call, I got really excited. I'm starstruck. And Mr. Mayor, colleagues, I want to join you in taking delight in proclaiming September 5 to September 11, 2021 to be Portland Thorns and Portland Timbers Stand Together Week. Stand Together Week is an annual Portland tradition where members of the Thorns community and members of the Timbers community come together and volunteer their time to make Portland a better city. This year, Stand Together Week, as we've heard, will support about 20 volunteer projects, which will benefit organizations that focus on youth, the environment, and social equity. And dollars raised during Stand Together Week will support organizations like Brown Hope, Lachey House, Ronald McDonald House Charities, Solve, the Portland Children's Book Bank, and Habitat for Humanity. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the corporate sponsors who are participating in this year's Stand Together Week, especially Alaska Airlines, Coca-Cola, Daimler, Danner Boots, Safeway, Providence Sports Medicine, and Umpqua Bank. Events like Stand Together Week help make Portland a special place and a resilient city. And that's why I urge all Portlanders to join me in supporting Stand Together Week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioner Ryan for bringing this proclamation forward. And thank you to the Timbers and Thorns and other staff and volunteers who support this week of service every single year. In my previous work at Latino Network, I've witnessed firsthand how the Timbers and Thorns were and are always a wonderful partner to community-based organizations, and that they were always there to ensure that the next generation of Portlanders of all backgrounds felt connected to their hometown soccer teams. And by extension, they felt connected to their city. So I'm especially so glad to see Stand Together Week continue, and especially in these times where we really need each other and we need to be together. So you're all doing this, and especially I want to give you a big thank you, Timber Joey, who's always would show up for our kiddos. You were definitely the superstar when you arrived, and you still are. So we're so grateful. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to read a proclamation. I got my Timbers shirt today, but in all fairness, I wore my Thorns shirt last time, and so I try to rotate here and there. But Timber Joey, thank you so much for joining us as you always do. And I just want to say on a personal note, I can't think of anybody in this city who gives so much of their time and energy to as many good causes as you do. And I know you do that on behalf of the Timbers and the Thorns organizations. But I also just see the personal spark in you and your real true love for this community. And that's been for a long, long time. And I really just want to acknowledge that publicly. So it's my honor to read a proclamation on behalf of the City Council. Whereas the state of Oregon is proud to be home to the Portland Timbers and Portland Thorns FC, our professional soccer teams. And whereas the Timbers and Thorns FC are committed to giving back to our community through their community platform, Stand Together. And whereas the 10th anniversary of Stand Together Week is an opportunity to promote civic engagement and volunteerism September 5th through 11th, 2021, benefiting local youth, families, and the environment. And whereas approximately 500 Stand Together volunteers, including Timbers and Thorns FC players, the Timbers Army, Rose City Riveters, coaches, ambassadors, front office staff, sponsors, and community members will all come together for a week of service. And whereas Stand Together volunteers will participate in 20 community events and projects throughout the greater Portland metro area, benefiting over 18 different nonprofit organizations. And whereas community service projects will include restoring local parks, facilitating donation drives, beautifying community gardens, providing meals for local communities in need, and much, much more. And whereas Stand Together will support local mission-driven nonprofits, including Harper's Playground, Grow Portland, Virginia Garcia Memorial Health Center, Solve, Project Lemonade, and Habitat for Humanity, amongst others. And whereas Stand Together Week is a call to action by the Portland Timbers and Thorns FC and our community partners to inspire people to give back through community service. Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim September 5th through 11th, 2021, to be Portland Timbers and Thorns FC Stand Together Week in Portland, and encourage all residents to observe this day. Thank you all very much. And Timber Joey, thank you as always.
Thank you so much for all your kind words, and thank you for this proclamation.
We'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have one more item here, I believe, Keelan, item number 650 on the regular agenda. It is an emergency ordinance.
Authorize a no-cost intergovernmental agreement between Bureau of Environmental Services and Port of Portland to use soils from the Secondary Treatment Expansion Program on Port of Portland property.
Commissioner Maps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Colleagues, I'm delighted to bring this ordinance before you today. This ordinance comes out of Environmental Services. Frankly, it is uncontroversial, but it's also important, and it's important because it's an example of good government, which I'm excited to share. Here's where this ordinance comes from. Environmental Services is in the process of making some much needed and federally mandated improvements to the city's main wastewater treatment plant. One byproduct of this construction project is a big pile of dirt, which Environmental Services must eventually get rid of. I was just out at the wastewater treatment plant earlier this week and saw this pile of dirt myself. You should imagine a small hill that is maybe 3 or 4 stories tall. Now, in situations like this, typically Environmental Services would contract with Metro to haul the dirt to a landfill, which would cost taxpayers, or at least ratepayers, about $500,000. But Environmental Services has a better idea, and that's what this ordinance is about. Instead of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to send this dirt to the landfill, Environmental Services proposes that we give the dirt to the Port of Portland, who happen to need a bunch of dirt for one of their construction projects. Now, that's why the ordinance before us today would give 10,000 tons of dirt to the Port of Portland for reuse at a port development project. This ordinance will save taxpayers around $675,000 and will cut in half the carbon emissions associated with moving this dirt. Colleagues, this project is an example of what we in environmental services like to call a triple win. It's a win for ratepayers, it's a win for environmental services, and it's a win for our partners over at the Port of Portland. Now, here to tell us more about this project, we have Muriel Gesa Teufel, Secondary Treatment Expansion Program Manager. Muriel, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Mapps, for the kind words. I won't take too much of the time. It's a fairly straightforward ordinance, but I do want to highlight our partners that were there to make it happen. Like Commissioner Mapps said, the standard approach would have been to just take the dirt and send it to a landfill. And this project is under a CMGC approach, a general contractor construction manager approach, which is considered alternative delivery, where the contractor is really part of the team as part of design and as part of construction. So when we entered into our first agreement of $80 million with the contractor, there was a line item for $8 million associated with just getting rid of the pile of dirt. So we entered into the agreement, but one of the benefits of CMGC is that we're constantly looking for opportunities for savings. And the team is at the table every day to scratch their heads and figure out if there's a better way to do this. And this is what happened here. Although we do rely a lot on those partners. And in this case, I really want to highlight the Port of Portland's willingness to consider this alternative, because it's way easier to stay in your way, do things as you're usually doing them and not take any risks. And the port has been a tremendous partner to look at the opportunity, consider the benefits. They are as interested as we are to divert from the landfills and saving money. But it took an investment on both sides without really knowing if it was really going to work in the end. So we invested a lot of time. Everybody's reluctant these days to add more Zoom meetings, recurring Zoom meetings to their schedules, but we did. We've been meeting weekly with the port since, I think, April to make this work and figure out action items, how to make this work. And the result is today. So I'm really proud of the work and the partnership, and we're looking for more opportunities like this. And I will be open to questions if there are any.
Colleagues, any questions? If not, Keelan, do we have any public testimony for this item?
No one is on the line for this item.
All right, good. Muriel, thank you. Commissioner Mapps, thank you. Why don't we go ahead and call the roll?
Mapps?
Let me begin by thanking Muriel and for that great presentation. I also want to take a moment to recognize my staff over at Environmental Services for their out-of-the-box thinking that really found some creative solutions that save ratepayers money. And I'd also like to take a moment to appreciate our partners over at the Port of Portland, who've been great to work with and have really helped us find an innovative solution to a common problem. This, I think, is a real role model for the kind of government that I hope Portland can deliver for its citizens. And those are some of the reasons why I'm delighted to vote aye this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Mapps and Muriel and BES for this great work. I vote aye.
Ryan?
Thank you, Commissioner Mapps, Muriel. That was an amazing item. We've had timbers, thorns, and now dirt, and it's quite a morning. But you don't really get to hear that we're saving taxpayers $675,000 over a big pile of dirt, which back in the day it was like a playground. So anyway, that's really awesome. I vote aye.
Wheeler?
Yeah, all of the above. I vote aye. Thank you, Commissioner Mapps. Thank you, Muriel. The ordinance is passed. Thank you. Keelan, that completes our agenda, correct?
Yes, it does.
All right, everybody, we are adjourned. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.